The ocean doesn't hate you. It doesn't love you either. It can stay calm for weeks and then destroy everything in a single night. To the ancient Greeks, that wasn't just nature. That was a god. His name was Poseidon, the god even heroes feared.
The Story Vault. Unlock the Untold.
If you ask most people today who Poseidon was, they'll probably give the same answer: the god of the sea. And that's true. But it's also a little misleading, because Poseidon wasn't simply the ruler of the ocean. He was one of the three most powerful gods in the entire Greek world. A brother of Zeus, a brother of Hades, a god whose decisions could change the fate of kingdoms, and whose anger could reshape the earth itself. His story begins long before the oceans belonged to him. Before Mount Olympus, before the Trojan War, before heroes like Perseus or Odysseus or Achilles were even imagined. It begins with a family that might just be the most dysfunctional family in all of mythology. Poseidon's father was Cronus, king of the Titans, and Cronus lived in constant fear because of a prophecy. It said one day, one of his own children would overthrow him. If you've noticed, Greek mythology has a habit of treating prophecies as unavoidable. The harder someone tries to escape them, the faster they seem to come true. Cronus believed he had found the perfect solution. Every time one of his children was born, he swallowed them alive. It's one of the strangest and darkest images in Greek mythology. Imagine growing up inside your father's stomach. No sunlight, no sky, no world. According to the myth, that's exactly what happened to Poseidon, along with his brothers and sisters: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades. One by one, they disappeared into Cronus until only the youngest child remained: Zeus. But Zeus never suffered the same fate. His mother, Rhea, couldn't bear to lose another child. So when Zeus was born, she wrapped a stone in blankets and handed it to Cronus instead. Cronus swallowed the stone, believing he had swallowed his son. Meanwhile, Zeus was hidden away, where he secretly grew into adulthood. It's one of those moments that feels almost impossible. A prophecy, a trick, a stone pretending to be a baby. Greek mythology rarely worries about realism. It cares about symbolism. And this story is really about one idea. No matter how powerful a ruler becomes, fear eventually becomes their greatest weakness. Years later, Zeus returned. Not as a child, but as a challenger. According to the myth, he forced Cronus to vomit up the children he had swallowed, one by one. Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia emerged, free at last. Then came a war unlike anything the world had ever seen: the Titanomachy, a battle between the old gods and the new. Titans against Olympians. For 10 years, the universe itself became a battlefield. Mountains shook, the seas roared, the sky was filled with war. And when it was finally over, the Titans were defeated. A new generation of gods ruled the cosmos. Now, here's something a lot of people don't know. After the war, Zeus didn't simply choose which kingdom each brother would rule. According to the myth, they drew lots, almost like rolling dice. 3 brothers, 3 realms, 1 chance. Zeus received the sky, Hades received the underworld, and Poseidon received the sea. I've always found that fascinating because one of the most powerful gods in mythology didn't conquer the ocean. He inherited it. But the sea wasn't all he ruled. Far from it. The ancient Greeks gave Poseidon many titles. He was the god of the sea, the god of storms, the god of earthquakes, and surprisingly, the god of horses. That last one usually catches people off guard. What do horses have to do with the ocean? The answer isn't entirely clear. Some ancient writers believed Poseidon created the first horse. Others connected the pounding of galloping horses to the crashing force of waves. Like many myths, there isn't just one explanation. What is clear is how the Greeks imagined him. Not as a calm old man peacefully watching over sailors, but as a force of nature. Powerful, unpredictable, impossible to control. A single strike of his trident could split the earth, raise enormous waves, or send entire cities trembling beneath their feet. The Greeks even gave him a name because of it. Enosikthon, the Earth Shaker. Think about that for a second. Today, when we feel an earthquake, we think about tectonic plates. The ancient Greeks had a different explanation. Somewhere beneath the world, Poseidon had struck the ground. If Zeus represented the sky and Hades ruled the dead, Poseidon represented something people encountered every single day, yet could never truly master. The sea fed cities, connected civilizations, made trade possible, but it could also swallow an entire fleet without warning. No matter how experienced a sailor was, the ocean always had the final word. And in the minds of the ancient Greeks, so did Poseidon. Before long, kings would pray to him, sailors would fear him, heroes would challenge him. Some would earn his blessing, many would earn his wrath. And once Poseidon decided someone had crossed the line, he was not known for forgiveness. In fact, one stubborn king, one clever hero, and one city that chose another goddess over him were all about to discover just how dangerous it was to make an enemy of the god of the sea. If there was one thing Poseidon hated, it was losing, especially when he believed something should have belonged to him. And one of the best examples was a city that still carries the name of his greatest rival, Athens. Long before it became the center of philosophy, democracy, and the birthplace of thinkers like Socrates, Athens was simply a growing city. According to Greek mythology, the people needed a patron god, someone who would protect the city forever. 2 Olympian gods stepped forward, Poseidon and Athena. Both claimed they deserved the honor, but instead of fighting each other, they agreed to let the people decide. Each god would offer the city a gift. Whichever gift proved more valuable would determine its protector. It's a fascinating idea. Even the gods sometimes competed through symbols instead of war. Poseidon went first. He raised his trident and struck the ground. The earth split open. From the rock, water burst into the air. Some ancient versions say it became a spring. Others say it was a powerful wave. Still others describe it as a horse, created from the earth itself. Greek myths rarely agree on every detail, but they all agree on one thing. Poseidon's gift represented power, strength, control over nature. Then Athena stepped forward. She planted a single seed. An olive tree began to grow. At first, it didn't look very impressive. No crashing waves, no miracle from the sea. Just a tree. But that tree could feed people. Its fruit became food. Its oil became light. Its wood became shelter. Year after year, generation after generation, it kept giving. The people looked at both gifts and made their choice. Athena won, and from that day on, the city became known as Athens. Poseidon accepted the decision. At least, that's how some stories tell it. Other versions paint a very different picture. They say Poseidon was furious. He flooded the surrounding land, sent storms against the city, and never truly forgave Athens for choosing someone else. Whether that happened literally inside the myth, or whether it reflected how unpredictable the sea could be, depends on how you read the story. But one thing becomes clear. Poseidon's pride was as powerful as his trident. That pride appears again in another story you've already heard, the story of Medusa. But this is where we need to slow down for a moment, because not every ancient writer told the story the same way. In the earliest Greek traditions, Medusa is already one of the Gorgons, a terrifying creature from the beginning. There is no transformation, no curse, no tragic past. The version many people know today, where Medusa was once a beautiful young woman, comes much later, most famously from the Roman poet Ovid. In that version, Poseidon desired Medusa, and the encounter inside Athena's temple changed her life forever. We've already explored that story in our Medusa episode, but here, it tells us something important about Poseidon. Whether portrayed as passionate, reckless, or destructive, he was a god whose actions often left others dealing with the consequences. That's a pattern you'll notice again and again. Poseidon wasn't evil in the way modern stories often imagine villains. He wasn't trying to destroy the world. He simply expected his power to be respected. And when it wasn't, his response was often overwhelming. Sometimes, it wasn't even the person who offended him who suffered the most. The ancient Greeks had a word they cared deeply about: hubris, excessive pride, the belief that you could challenge the gods or place yourself above your limits. Most myths warn humans against hubris. But what's interesting is, the gods themselves often displayed it too. Poseidon was one of the clearest examples. He demanded respect, yet his own pride frequently led to conflict. That's one reason Greek mythology still feels surprisingly modern. Its gods weren't perfect ideals. They were powerful beings with very human flaws. As centuries passed, sailors developed rituals before setting out to sea. Kings sacrificed bulls, cities built temples along the coast, not because they expected Poseidon to be gentle, but because they hoped he might choose not to be angry. Imagine living in a world where your family's survival depended on crossing the sea. Every voyage carried a question. Would Poseidon allow you to return? Or would he decide your journey ended today? And then, one man made a decision that would turn Poseidon against him. A hero. brilliant, proud, and just arrogant enough to make one terrible mistake. His name was Odysseus. After the Trojan War, Odysseus was finally sailing home, but on the way, he and his men encountered Polyphemus, a cyclops and the son of Poseidon. They became trapped inside his cave. So Odysseus used his greatest weapon, not strength, cleverness. He blinded the cyclops and escaped. He should have sailed away quietly, but Odysseus had one weakness: pride. From his ship, he shouted back to Polyphemus. He revealed his real name. And Polyphemus called upon his father, Poseidon. He asked his father to make sure Odysseus never reached home, or if he did, that he would arrive broken. Poseidon answered, and the journey home that should have taken weeks became 10 years of storms, monsters, shipwrecks, and loss. Odysseus survived, but he did not escape the sea unchanged, because Poseidon had shown him something terrifying. You can outsmart a monster, but you cannot outsmart the god who rules the ocean. There was also King Minos of Crete. Minos wanted to prove that the gods had chosen him to rule. So he prayed to Poseidon, asking the god of the sea for a sign. And Poseidon answered. From the sea came a magnificent white bull, a creature so extraordinary that there could be no doubt. Minos had promised to sacrifice the bull to Poseidon, but when he saw it, he changed his mind. The bull was too beautiful to kill, so Minos kept it and sacrificed another animal instead. Poseidon did not take the deception lightly. He cursed Pasiphae, Minos' wife, making her desire the very bull Minos had refused to sacrifice. And from that unnatural union came the Minotaur, a creature that Minos would eventually hide inside a vast labyrinth. The story would later lead to Theseus, the hero who entered that labyrinth and killed the beast within. All began with one simple betrayal. One king who thought he could break a promise to Poseidon and get away with it. Poseidon never needed to kill Minos himself. He simply gave one man's betrayal a consequence that would echo through generations. After everything we've heard, it's easy to see Poseidon as the villain, the angry god, the one who punished Odysseus, the one who caused storms, the one who couldn't accept losing. But that would be too simple, because the ancient Greeks didn't see Poseidon as evil. They saw him as something much more powerful, something humans could never fully control: the sea. For the ancient Greeks, the ocean was not just water. It was a mystery, a highway connecting civilizations, a source of food, a path to wealth and discovery. But it was also a place where people disappeared forever. A calm sea could bring prosperity. A violent storm could destroy an entire fleet within minutes. The same ocean that gave life could also take it away. And Poseidon represented exactly that contradiction. This is why sailors respected him. Not because they believed he was always kind, but because they understood his power. Before leaving on a voyage, many sailors offered prayers and sacrifices. They weren't asking Poseidon to make them heroes. They were asking for something much simpler: a safe journey home. So, was Poseidon a cruel god? A protector? A monster? Maybe the answer depends on where you stand. To a sailor caught in a storm, he was terrifying. To someone arriving safely after a dangerous voyage, he was the reason they survived. To a hero who challenged him, he was an unstoppable enemy. But to the ancient Greeks, he was something more fundamental. He was the ocean itself. A force that could carry you to new worlds, or pull you into the unknown. A force that could give and take away. A force that never promised fairness, only power. And maybe that's why the Greeks never tried to defeat Poseidon. They knew better. Because you cannot defeat the sea. You can only learn how to navigate it.
The Story Vault. Unlock the Untold.